I'm Scott Kennedy. I'm Trustee Chair in Chinese Business and Economics at CSIS. China's annual legislative session for the National People's Congress will open on Friday, May 22nd. I wanted to answer 3 questions about how economic issues are going to play out at the NPC. The first question is China's economy enjoying a strong recovery? On day 1 of the NPC, China's Premier, Li Keqiang, will report on the state of the economy, which will be followed up by reports from the Ministry of Finance and statements from the Central Bank, the Ministry of Commerce, and others. And their message is most likely going to be that China's economy suffered a major setback because of the pandemic, but is well on its way to the road to recovery and moving at a pace ahead of others around the world. China has moved aggressively with a wide variety of economic measures to deal with the pandemic. That said, there is no V-shaped recovery in China's immediate future. There is still a clear priority by the Chinese leadership to contain the virus, and that trumps restarting the economy. So whenever they have had a new outbreak, they have clamped down immediately, even at the cost of keeping people home from work and having factories operate. Private firms also, as I mentioned, were really hit hard. 10 million unemployed because of the pandemic in China. Consumption is down quite a bit. Auto sales were down a lot last year. Travel on trains and planes is off by almost 75%. The hit on commercial real estate may be permanent because telework is going to be a much larger part of the economy in the months and years ahead. Finally, international markets aren't what they were before the crisis. There's very low demand for Chinese goods and services, and there's a wave of protectionism circling the globe, which is also going to restrict China as well. So for these reasons, I expect China to have a steady recovery, but much slower and drawn out than the Chinese are likely to portray. Second question is, what new policy initiatives are we likely to see featured at the National People's Congress? China is unlikely to set a specific figure for GDP growth. First quarter GDP growth was minus 6.8%. The IMF estimates that Chinese growth is going to be about 1 to 1.5% this year. China will also test drive language for the 14th five-year plan. This is now the last year of the 13th five-year plan. The 14th five-year plan will be announced in October, and all of its targets, we may see them test drive some of the language and goals in that plan. There ought to be an emphasis on protecting citizens. We'll see a discussion of rapid expansion of access to healthcare, the development of pharmaceuticals and vaccines, as well as support for the unemployed and retirees. In addition, you'll see even greater talk about the need to have China move rapidly ahead in just about every area of technology that you can think of. The last question I want to discuss today: will US-China commercial tensions be a big topic at the NPC? The collapse in US-China ties is unlikely to feature prominently at the NPC. This is really a domestic meeting with foreign policy only covered in a general way. That said, the tensions in US-China relations will provide a larger subtext and it will animate discussion about several things. China's need to accelerate development of high tech will be number one. So we'll see discussions about big ticket projects such as 5G, autonomous vehicles, vaccines, and other biotech projects. I think we're also likely to see a discussion about China's efforts to improve its business environment, and China is going to emphasize how they are committed to continuing with their 40-year program of opening and reform, as it may not sell well in Washington, but it sells well elsewhere. And we'll hear more about China's efforts to provide global public goods, particularly in healthcare, but also in infrastructure and telecom. So in each of these areas, the hidden message is that China will overcome the challenges presented by conflict with the United States, and that it is stepping up to provide global leadership when the U.S. is more inward-looking.